Hi, I'm Jake, and I've been drawing Pokemon since I was 7 years old. Today's video is a follow-up to my highest performing video. We're going to be looking at some more randomly generated sprites and seeing if I can make them into Fakemon starters. So if you like the idea of that, stick around to the end of the video. As with every generation, let's start off with the grass starters. So I picked these 3 sprites because I thought they were actually quite cohesive. I mean, as cohesive as you can get with randomly generated pixels. But I mean, they all look like bugs and they've all got that similar shade of green, so that's my starting point. So the sprite for the first stage made me think that it had like a leaf-shaped mask or a leaf-shaped head with a long stick-like body. I guess like a stick insect really. But I wanted the line to have a bit more cohesion, so I gave it mandibles on its head as a cutting tool, kind of like a leaf cutter ant. And hopefully in the later evolutions I'll explain, or you'll hopefully see why that makes sense. I had a bit of trouble with the mouth, but I just ended up on that cute little bug mouth. So here's the first stage of our grass starter. I haven't thought of any names, but on the spot I can think of twig sex, like twig and insect. Just let me know in the comments if you've got anything better. If you watch my video of me designing Fakemon based on Greek bugs, then you'll know that I love bug types. So this guy is one of my favourite designs so far. I feel like I end up saying that about everything. It would be a grass and bug dual type and learn moves like Razor Leaf and Fury Cutter. For its evolution, I think the sprite was the best of a bad bunch really. It reminded me of a mantis and I thought it could use its arms as cutting tools, which was going to be the running theme throughout this line. I also picked this sprite originally because I thought that the colours did carry on from the last sprite, but when I used them they were actually much more purple than I intended. That's one of the rules of this challenge that I set myself, was that I could only use the 3 colours that the generator came up with. So this is the evolution of the grass starter. I'm not the proudest of this one, I think it looks more like an alien than a mantis, but stick around to the end of the video where I give it a recolour. Now we've got the final evolution of the grass starter, and I was most excited for this sprite. It made me think of a guillotine, and that's where the whole cutting theme came from for the bug grass type line. By guillotine, I mean like the medieval kind, not the one that cuts paper. So I needed it to have like a long neck that could open its mouth and use its jaws to chop things in half. So I looked into bugs with long necks and found this giraffe weevil, and that's what the basis of the design was, mixed in with aspects of stick insects too. I did have to weave in a bit of the mantis aspect into its design as well to try and link it to its previous evolution. I absolutely love how it came out, especially the face and the horns, really proud of those. I think my only criticism is it's not really starter-like. It's not anthropomorphic, it's not appealing to young children, it's just a giant scary bug. I mean, it's appealing to me because I love big scary bugs. I think I'd call it Weevil Teen, which sounded better in my head, but it's a mix of guillotine and weevil. It'd be a bug and grass type and learn moves like X-Scissor. So here's the whole grass line all together. Let me know what you think. I do think that there's some cohesion between the first stage and the final stage. That middle one's a bit odd, which is why I thought that I would redraw it with colours that I would pick rather than the colours of the randomly generated sprites. I kept mostly the same colours for the first stage, just gave it a cute pink mouth, changed the second stage massively, but still it kinda looks like an alien, and then I made the third stage look very brown as well, which I think makes it look less like a grass starter. Maybe in the future I could reuse it in another region. Moving on to the fire starters, and these were the last ones that I designed because I found it the hardest to pick sprites for. I couldn't find any that had cohesive colours or a cohesive idea. I ended up on these 3, which made me think of bears and black smoke, so that's the theme that I went with throughout. The first stage's sprite actually looks really similar to that little clown Fakemon that I drew in the first randomly generated sprite video. But this time it had big black ears, which made me think of a koala bear. And then that black line in the middle is what I actually turned into the smoke, with a bit of a red tip for the fire type. So this is Smokey. Yeah, sounds a bit of a weird name, but it's a mix of Smoke and Joey, a baby koala bear. This Fakemon is just the reason that I love this challenge, because when would you ever make this Fakemon with neon flare patterns? It's really cool, if I do say so myself. It must be a recurring trend that the middle stage sprites are the hardest to pick. In the end I went with this one because I think that face shape made me still think of a bear, and I thought its long arms could work for the koala theme. Plus, it had that neon pink in the colour palette, which would carry on from the first evolution. I did take a bit of creative liberty here and added some black to its cheeks to carry on with that black smoke theme. But in my rules, that's allowed. I can add black or white to the design. For the evolution of the fire starter, I could see it gaining the dark or the ghost type, with the smoke billowing out of it being like mystical fire or smoke screens. I don't think that the colour palette does this one justice, especially those pink feet, but I love the pose and I love the face and the eye design that I gave it. Moving on to the final evolution of the fire starter. The sprite made me think of someone that was sat cross-legged, and with the whole koala bears and the mystical fire theme, I thought it made me think of like a Aboriginal chief or something like that. So I thought it could sit in this almost meditative pose, and the smoke that was coming out of it was like signals to the afterlife, like smoke signals. So that was my running theme for this design. Drawing a bear cross-legged is actually really hard, so don't come for me about those toes. Or the weird green colour, which actually looked like grey in smaller scale. So this is the final evolution of the fire starter. I could see it acting like a guardian or a chief of its tribe, and using the smoke that billows from its chest and cheeks to send signals to the rest of its pack. The Firestarter line was really hard to make cohesive. I couldn't find any sprites that fit together. I think I might have pulled it off with the lore that I've created around it, with the black smoke and the fact they're all koala bears. But the colour palette just didn't work for me, which is why I changed them to this. These colours were just a run-on from the ones that the sprite gave me from the first evolution, because I really liked those, and that's what inspired the whole line really. The sprites for the water starters were given bats, so that's the theme. If I was good at editing, I'd insert that vine about it's frickin' bats, but I don't know how to do that. This is a very rare occasion where I'd actually come up with a name of the Fakemon before I started drawing, and I guess that kind of informed the design for me. I tried to translate those blue pixels into a wavy water pattern just so it fit a bit more with the type, because I wouldn't really associate bats with water, I guess. So this is Drip Bat. Imagine in the lore of this Pokemon that it will secrete some kind of fluid to keep itself safe or to aid with its flying or something like that. A fun fact for you all, I actually drew this water type line when I was up with my son when he was ill in the middle of the night. So these designs were drawn at 3 AM in the morning, so taken with a pinch of salt, but this is the evolution of the water starter. The colours in this sprite made me think of the ice type, and I guess you could think of in the lore of this Pokemon that it always has a constant cold or a flu. I imagine that those claws are actually icicles. When looking through the randomly generated sprite sheet, I actually found the final evolution for the water starter sprite first. I interpreted those blue horns in the sprite as its bat ears, and that big black rectangle in the middle of the sprite as its nose. The light blue in the sprite made me think of the ice type, but that purple made me think of the poison type too, and that's where the theme of wet bats came from. I imagine that it's covered in this substance, I don't know what it would be. It would help this Pokemon, but contact with the substance would infect other people, give them a cold or a flu, to link it to the ice type as well. I have to say, I'm least proud of the water starters. I love Drip Bat, but its evolutions aren't the best. I'm not sure that the theme works either, although bats do carry diseases. Did you know that bats are the only species in England that carry rabies? So if you're ever bit by a bat, go get a rabies vaccine. And wasn't there that whole thing that COVID came from bats? Without getting into it too much, but maybe the theme does work. Anyway, these are the colours that I would actually give these Fakemon if I got to choose. It isn't a massive change, but I do think it tries to convey that ice type a bit more. I made the claws a very, very light blue to imply that they're almost like icicles. So there we have it, guys. That's the Fakemon starters made from randomly generated sprites. I really hope that you like them, and thank you so much for getting this far in the video and putting up with my rambling. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and drop a comment down below to let me know which is your favourite starter. As always, I'll try my best to get a video to you guys next weekend, and if I do, we're going to be exploring the Greek-inspired Fakemon region a bit more. I'm going to be showing the first map that I've made. I'll give you the region's name, and also show you some of the new Fakemon that can be found on that region. So if you like the sound of that, make sure to check back next week. Thanks, bye.